I know that football is primarily on your brain right now. Trust me, it is like 98% of my brain right now. I can't remember to take the garbage out half the time. I'm thinking about football, football, football so much. But once in a while, to use a baseball reference, I got to throw a curveball at you guys. Got to do something that maybe you're not expecting. And I had an opportunity to talk with ESPN basketball recruiting director Paul Biancardi, who is the guy. You want to follow somebody on social media who's at all the tournaments. He knows all the coaches. He's well connected. He coached himself. If you want to follow not only recruiting, but those players that Syracuse has not only already brought in Donnie Freeman and Elijah Moore, but is tracking the son of a former Syracuse legend, I believe his name is Anthony, and players that have committed to Syracuse like Sadiq White, and the ones that are on Syracuse's radar. Paul Biancardi is one of the main sources you want to follow and track. And I had an opportunity to just sit down with him, talk recruiting. We focused a lot on those names and others that Syracuse is on. So this is not the old joke. When is it basketball season even here in early September? It was just good timing and a good opportunity. And why not? We'll change things up a little bit. We've talked so much football over the last month that we're going to talk a ton of football over the next few months. Let's mix it up a little bit and talk some hoops today. So I'm looking forward to you guys hearing our conversation with Paul Biancardi on all those names that Syracuse Hoops is tracking and more. And as always, our Syracuse Sports Insiders with their insight, their questions, their opinions, primarily on football this time of the year, but you can always ask basketball questions. Some of you guys have been asking, hey, when's the ACC schedule come out? Little basketball nuggets that have come up here and there. Being a Syracuse Sports Insider means you can text me directly. I text you guys, so it's not a group text. You will all get a group text in the sense of when I have breaking news, attendance updates, just opinions, questions for you guys. You'll all get the same text sometimes, but you're not responding to 300 people. You're just responding to me. The Syracuse Sports Insiders have been incredible, and we would love for you to join the community. Try it free for 2 weeks. All you have to do is text the word orange to 315-847-3895. Try it free for 2 weeks, just $3.99 a month after that. And again, it provides you direct text message access to me. You can text anytime your questions, thoughts, opinions, highlighted on this podcast, and our Syracuse football postgame shows, which Emily and I will be doing after every Syracuse football game. So after the Orange take on Georgia Tech, Saturday afternoon, we'll be here live with you doing postgame. But make sure you subscribe on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube so you get Syracuse Sports sent to you on demand whenever you want. Another cool thing is we've been featuring your original music here on Syracuse Sports. All the information is in the show notes on how you can get in touch with me to share your original music with me. And today we are going to highlight a cool band who I am really into, and I'm glad. Shout out to Nate, who sent me an email, and he introduced me to a band called Hell Yeah, So What, which I love a creative band name. That is terrific. Hell Yeah, So What. So that's what we're going to feature here. You're going to hear a little clip of Hell Yeah, So What? And then we're going to play their entire song at the end of the podcast. And by the way, that can be you. That can be a band that you are in. That can be you as an artist. Send me your original music, and we would love to highlight it here on Syracuse Sports. So let's listen into a little bit of Hell Yeah, So What? And then we're going to hear some hoops with Paul Biancardi, ESPN recruiting director. So, Paul, I've definitely got a lot of guys I want to ask you about here that are already committed to Syracuse and are on Syracuse's radar. But I'm just kind of curious about your life and your summer. What's it like for you going around all the gyms and the AAU tournaments, and what's it like for a national recruiting director in the summertime for hoops?
Well, when I go back to my coaching days, it's what I did, right? The season ended. You got prepared for the spring and the summer. So essentially, I've never had a summer off, which I love because you go from the season right into the gym to evaluate. Now, for me, I'm evaluating, I'm ranking guys. I'm trying to go everywhere in the country where the best players are. I love it. I really enjoy it. I love seeing the progress of players. I love seeing new players. And sometimes players get stuck, and they get stuck in neutral for a while. But then they come around and they blossom. So I get to watch the best players in the country, different classes. This time of the year, it's a little quieter. We're going to update our rankings at the end of this week from the summer. So it's just nice to be at home and talk to you today. It really is.
That's absolutely. You said it before we started recording. You relax by talking basketball, and I love that. And it's good to talk some hoops because rightfully so, people are very excited about Syracuse football, but it's always basketball season around here, no matter how good or excited people are about the football team. So it's good to jump into that world a little bit here. So I wanted to actually start with a couple of guys that we know are committed to Syracuse, and we're going to see starting this fall. Elijah Moore and Donnie Freeman are committed. They are here, and everybody is anticipating what they're going to bring to the table on what's a very different Syracuse team. A lot of guys went in the portal. They brought in some guys from the portal, but good old-fashioned recruiting here with these two. And I want to start with Donnie Freeman. Paul, I just feel like, man, if it weren't for Cooper Flagg, like he could be like one of the big buzz freshmen that people would be talking about in the ACC. He comes in as the highest-rated recruit Syracuse has had since this guy named Carmelo Anthony back in the day. So how we've kind of seen his film and heard about him, but how much did he do to attain that high ranking right when he walks in the door here at Syracuse?
The evolution of Donnie Freeman for me has been a joy to watch because he came on as a young 6'6", 6'7", thin guy, played for Team Takeover. You could tell he was on the court by producing a little bit here and there. But all of a sudden, as a rising senior, that light came on of confidence, productivity, actually towards the end of his junior year at IMG. And he had a great rising senior summer. And then the senior year from IMG, I said this on TV, Brent, numerous times. I can't think of a player who improved more as a senior than Donnie Freeman. He has it all. He's got the 6'10" frame. He's an excellent athlete. He produces at a high level, points, rebounds, gets some blocks. I mean, when he grabs a defensive board and goes with it, I mean, special things can happen. We're going to talk a lot about Cooper Flagg, and rightfully so, but Donnie Freeman is going to be in a lot of those conversations. Mark my words, especially come tournament time in terms of conference tournament during the regular season.
That's exciting to hear, and I agree with you. I feel like we're not talking enough about this guy, if that's possible. Maybe when the temperatures start going down a little bit in Syracuse and people get in the mood for hoops, we'll be immersed in that, but exciting to hear that. How about Elijah Moore? They call him Choppa, and another guy that this film pops. You see the shooting ability, and you see a guy who I feel like can contribute right away here at Syracuse.
Yeah, talking to the people around the program, he's really matured. He's really worked hard in the individual workouts. A great shooter, one of the best shooters last year in the senior class. Just can dial it up with catch and shoot situation, loves it off the dribble as well. He can shoot it equally well from both areas, off the dribble, off the bounce, mid-range, three-point range. So you've got that weapon. And Donnie Freeman can make threes. Now, don't sleep on Donnie Freeman. He's a plus 30% three-point shooter out of high school, probably better than that. He's going to be able to make shots, but Elijah Moore is going to really space the floor out. You have to cover him because he has that, shooter's mentality. Leave me open. I'm going to make you pay. Tough kid, and he's going to really get some minutes early for Syracuse.
There's been some legacies here, Paul. Boeheim comes to mind. You've had Brandon Trish, who is the nephew of Howard Trish, Andy Routens. But there's a kid out there whose last name is Anthony that people are kind of interested in that could potentially end up here at Syracuse. Kiyan Anthony, is one of the prime recruits in the class of 2025. He gained a lot of attention. It feels like he just had an electric summer, and I know you got to watch him and will tell us about him. Putting aside what the legacy would be, right? Obviously, he's Carmelo Anthony's son, and that would just be a huge story in and of itself. Tell me about the player that Syracuse would gain if he does, in fact, pick Syracuse as anticipated. And he's getting ready to make his decision. He said he wants to lock in his commitment before his senior season starts pretty soon here.
Yeah, he's really come on as a scorer. You know, like most freshmen, he's getting his feet wet in the game. He's overwhelmed physically and from a basketball IQ standpoint. He told me on the phone one time that, you know, his dad really has worked with him with the footwork, and you can see it now as a rising senior for Kiyan. Scores the ball at will, okay? Now, his shot quality at times, you know, sometimes you question, like, boy, was that a good shot? Some of them go in, some of them don't. It's the same thing for a lot of high school kids. That they have the ultimate green light. He'll have to dial down the shot quality as he gets older, but his ability to put big points on the board is outstanding. I mean, he's top 40 on my board. I mean, you're talking about 100,000 seniors this year. I mean, to be in the top 100 is really elite. Now you're inside the top 50. He can really score off the bounce, to the rack. Free throw shooter, very good catch and shoot guy. He's got that mentality. And what I love about him, he's got the confidence right now. Like, he really believes he can score every single time. I expect him to have a really big senior year.
Paul, what are the traits of Kiyan that remind you of Carmelo maybe as a player? I guess there's some things inevitably that would kind of seep down into his game.
Well, what he's learned from his dad is the footwork. So I've noticed an increase in his ability to jab step, to shot fake, you know, to put it on the deck and be efficient with his feet. That's so important for guys that can score the ball. And his dad, one of the best ever in terms of footwork and jab step and being in that triple threat position. Number one. Number two, I see the confidence. I see the confidence like his dad had at the same stage. I remember when Carmelo came out, it was 2003, I believe, correct? And I was at Ohio State then. So, you know, we took a swing at him, couldn't get him, of course. And I had a chance to watch him and LeBron in the same class. So it was pretty fun. So I would say for Kiyan, it's the confidence in himself to score against anyone, anytime during the game. I mean, it's not just like, I can do this. Like, I believe I can do this. There's a big difference. When you believe in your game, it permeates. You can feel it.
Sadiq White is a commitment in the class of 2025 for Syracuse. People were pretty excited about him, and it feels like there's a word that describes him best. You actually gave him one of your superlatives from the summer sessions here, and that's athleticism. Tell me how that translates into his game and what people should be excited about with him, and what he could improve upon in his game before he arrives here next season.
Yeah, elite athlete, best athlete coming into college basketball, in my opinion. You know, when he was a senior last year at Myers Park High School, according to Synergy, who tracks all the high school top players with their film, he led the nation in dunks. So
wow.
he comes baseline, he'll dunk it on you right down the middle, lob catcher, a driver dunker. So anytime Sadiq White gets near the basket, now he's not just looking to finish, he's looking to dunk on you. So, and with his pop and his legs, it's explosive, but it's also, he's a quick jumper, got great hands, good shot blocker, excellent switch defender, which is very important. As we know, Coach Autry is going to play man-to-man as well as the zone, but man-to-man is going to be big defensively. So he can really switch, which I like a lot, and he's long. He has the profile of what Syracuse has been looking for in the past. Now, offensively, the jump shot needs work. He doesn't take a lot of them. So he's really smart. He knows he gets his points in transition. He gets them from cutting, driving, and offensive rebounding. So this guy's going to fill a role right away. And as the jump shot improves, you know, his productivity will be even greater. And getting back to Kiyan Anthony for a minute, I talked about scoring, but I want to say this kid can play make too now. He's very good in the pick and roll, Kiyan Anthony. And I think Carmelo obviously has worked with him on the reads coming off a ball screen. He's able to hit the lift man from the corner, the roll guy, the pop guy, or understands when to get his. So Kiyan Anthony, not just a scoring guard, but also a playmaker.
Feels like Kiyan Anthony and Sadiq could be heck of a 1-2 punch if they end up playing together at Syracuse, as many are anticipating.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'd love to see Anthony throw it up to White. That would be I get that dome rocking, baby. And I mean, it's going to be hard to beat Syracuse from what I'm hearing in this. I mean, all signs point that he will commit there, but he's got to go through the process and make his own decision. That's what this is about.
Shon Abaev, I believe is how you say his last name. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Paul. He's actually on the heels of, we're speaking here on Wednesday, the 28th. He is about to visit Syracuse. So we'll see if any news comes out of that. And he is a unique prospect. He's long, he's athletic. He can certainly you look at and I know these are highlight films, but somebody that can really attack the rim. But what are the best qualities in his game that you've seen that Syracuse would certainly love to take advantage of?
Size and shooting. That's what he does. I mean, he made the ESPN 60, which is the top 60 juniors in the country at one point. Now he's in the ESPN 100. He's a top 30 guy in the class. You're looking at 6'7". You're looking at a flamethrower with the left hand.
Wow.
Not afraid of any shot, makes tough shots, which is a sign of a guy who can really score the ball. He just recently played in the Elite 24. Now, there's not a lot of defense in those all-star games, but you could see his talent with other great players. He got the MVP in the game. He's been very good over the last year and a half. And another guy, Brent, whose confidence has changed. It's amazing when I see a young athlete who thinks they know what they're doing, then tries to figure it out, then all of a sudden starts to blossom, then they start to believe in themselves. It's amazing what their productivity level goes from a 50 to 100 just in the matter of a season or a summer. That young man can fill it up from the outside. One of the best shooters in the class. In fact, he got one of my best shot makers in the class of 2025.
Another guy that really seems to stand out for his shooting ability is Ryder Frost. I know he's on Syracuse's radar. I don't know how strong they're in on him. It feels like he's certainly got some opportunities out there, but 6'6" guy. I saw you shooting 44%, which is a very Syracuse-friendly number, so fans always love to look for signs like that. But
John Wallace, right?
John Wallace, exactly. Derek Coleman as well, who's over my shoulder here in our set if you're watching on YouTube, right over here. So 44% in all. Ryder Frost, what kind of player are we looking at here?
Yeah, tough, 6'6", strong. I would say, the 44%, his catch and shoot threes are much higher. That's where he's best. I studied him on Synergy, and his ability just to catch it and release it quickly with size is appealing to a lot of colleges. Syracuse certainly in the mix for him. Young man out of Massachusetts. Again, more of a consistent shot maker than Shon Abaev, but somebody who brings that size and he brings that grit and toughness that you want on the court. I know Red Autry well as a player because when I coached at Syracuse, they did a number on us, and Wallace was on that team. So I know Coach Autry really loves, grit and toughness like he was as a player. Frost has it.
It feels like Acaden Lewis is a guy that Syracuse is starting to go after harder. It feels like, just from what I've heard and talking to some colleagues and some things out there, they really want this guy. And from everything I could see, Paul, he did really well in the NBA Players Association tournament, EYBL tournament. His profile is rising, and Syracuse feels like it really wants to get in on him and convince him to come here. So should they be able to do that, what kind of player are we looking at?
One of the most improved seniors this year when it comes to rankings, because rankings kind of tell you what a player has done and what he's capable to do in the future. Lewis is a guy who's moving up on my board. I loved him all summer. Really good in the pick and roll. Command of the floor, passer, scorer, driver, gets others involved. I know Duke is on him really hard as well as a lot of other schools, but Syracuse needs to make a hard push for him. And they know that, and they're trying to get in there, even stronger right now.
Before I ask you about a couple other guys, I feel like in looking at these summer tournaments, and you just mentioned a moment ago about players that make these big jumps. Everybody's different, Paul, but is there a pattern there that you see? Is it that sophomore to junior year? Is it that junior to senior year? Where's that time frame where maybe you see the biggest improvement, or where a player needs to make their big improvement to kind of show what they can do as a recruit?
Usually it's the freshman to sophomore year.
Okay.
That you see the biggest improvement. But junior year to senior year is when you see the urgency. And so, the kids understand, they become a little bit more mature, and they understand like this is it for them going into their senior year. They feel that urgency. But the improvement, I see mostly the greatest gains are freshman and sophomore.
Couple more names I wanted to throw at you here, Paul. London Jamieson, a 6A prospect from Connecticut. Syracuse seems to be in on him. And I got to be honest, not a guy I've seen a ton of. So I'm curious to learn about him here.
Played for the Expressions on the summer circuit, and great size, like at 6'8", and has some skill. I think he gets a lot done by playing hard. He can play that 3 or the 4 position. He has the skill to score, but I love the way he defends, fills the lane. Just an all-around good player that you want to be involved with, because when that skill starts to combine with his athleticism and the maturity and the body continues to get stronger, right now you're looking at a prospect that can turn into a player.
Have you heard schools that are in on him and maybe where Syracuse ranks in that conversation?
There was a day that you keep track of all of it, but if you pay attention to social media, it changes every day.
Right.
So
yeah.
I know the Big East and the ACC are their predominant conferences for him.
I love how they do kind of give us a clue now, Paul. They'll pop up the top 6. Yeah. And then then that's the top 3. And like that, it's interesting. This is what you do. So, how they program themselves in a way. They make they make content. They generate interest in what they're doing and when their announcement is. And I'm fascinated by that whole process. And I know that you guys do that sometimes. You'll facilitate an announcement. Sure. You'll be a part of that. And kids today are so media savvy. And I guess you're going to throw in social media savvy there as well. But they kind of know how they can, for lack of a better term, control the message a little bit.
Yeah, they do a good job with that. And then you see the changes. Like they'll say, this is my top 5. And then, maybe 2 weeks later, they let in 2 other schools. So it's really not a top 5, right? It's a top 7. You got to remember here, NIL has changed the game.
Yeah.
So for what was once a list, sometimes that list changes. Commitments happen. Yes, we do them, especially with the high profile guys, or we'll cover most of the guys in the top 100. Sometimes when a commitment happens, you see a lot of decommitments. So a lot of things have changed over time when it comes to recruiting, but the kids are very social media savvy, which I love because they show how they can brand themselves. But at the end of the day, the game is played on 94 feet.
Tyler Jackson, the next name I wanted to throw at you, Paul. Overtime elite. He's a point guard, and he's in that DC-Baltimore range, and Syracuse has had a lot of success recruiting from there. Brendan Strawn now on the staff at Syracuse. He's got strong ties there. Not the other, all the coaches really do. Autry certainly spent a lot of time there, but it feels like every year or two, Syracuse lands a big-time DMV recruit. Could he be the next one?
Possibly so. I mean, this is a dynamic guard. Like, he's got great speed, which you love in the open floor. He can be a lob thrower. He can be a driver finisher, streaky shooter from the outside. But, I like his energy and I like his dynamic ball handling skill, especially in the open floor. Needs to play with more energy on a consistent basis. When he does, that's when he separates himself. Sometimes he gets comfortable and complacent in games. And a lot of kids do at that age. And that's what prevents them from going from good to great. But he has all the tools.
So those are all the guys on Syracuse's radar. We brought up his name earlier, and I can't have you on without asking about one of the biggest recruits to come into college basketball in recent memory. Made some waves this summer at Team USA workouts. He's going to Duke, and Duke comes to Syracuse this year. That's the only matchup between Syracuse and Duke at the JMA Wireless Dome. So as you said when we were chatting a little bit yesterday, Paul, get your tickets now. What are we looking at here with Cooper Flagg? What kind of prospect is he? And is all the hype with Cooper Flagg? It feels like you can't hype him up enough, to be honest, because every time you watch him, he almost exceeds what people think of him.
Yeah, I don't consider hype when it's real, and Cooper Flagg is the real deal. So for me, it's not hype. It's just letting everyone know what's coming. When I look back at the rankings over the last 10 or 12 years, I'm entering my 16th year of doing this for ESPN. I'm trying to see who was a better, number one prospect at the time, in high school. I had to go back to, I thought Anthony Davis was somebody who was, that good during his senior year, that dominant, somebody that we really felt comfortable with and confident about, being a great pro. Cooper Flagg is in that category. I mean, he does it all at 6'9". That's number one. Always plays hard, always puts the team first. And at 6'9", there's versatility in his game. A little bit of point forward, a little bit of scoring guard, a little bit of power forward, small ball, rebounds, works to defend. He does everything on both ends of the floor. You never not see him play hard. So you put that together with unbelievable talent. Some people say he's a generational player. He's very close to that. When his time is done at Duke, and he's going to make an impact at Duke in every single game, he'll impact in some way, shape, or form. It's not always by scoring. It could be by making an energy play, a hustle play, a rebound push, and an assist. He blocks shots reminiscent of LeBron James. He loves the chase down block, and he's very good at it. But when his time is done, he'll be the number one pick in the 2025 draft. It's basically his to lose. He'll be a starter in the NBA, and then I see him as an NBA All-Star.
Said well there, Paul. We're looking forward to seeing him, even though he's probably going to give Syracuse a little bit of a fit when he comes into the Dome. But always interesting to see those big-time prospects come through. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate your insights. Great to be talking hoops here, which we can do any time of the year here in Syracuse, New York, and we'll see where Syracuse gets in on some of these names mentioned and how Elijah Moore and Donnie Freeman come in and make an instant impact here, Paul. Great stuff. Thank you so much for coming on with us. Would love to do it again down the road, but appreciate you hopping on Syracuse Sports with us today, my friend.
I really enjoyed this, Brent. Thank you.
All right. Thanks again to Paul Biancardi for joining us. Why not? Little hoops talk here in early September. It's always basketball season, but football season is well underway, friends. Our Syracuse football postgame shows with Emily Leiker and I after every Syracuse football game. Make sure you tune in. We'll be on live here on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple, Facebook, all kinds of places live. Make sure you subscribe on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube to get the podcast on demand so you can listen whenever you want. Maybe that's a Sunday morning thing for you. Get the post game when it's convenient for you. So we'll be doing that through football season and continuing to bring you Syracuse sports as well. Thanks to our Syracuse Sports Insiders with their great insight as always. Again, I would encourage you to subscribe by texting the word orange to 315-847-3895. Try it free for 2 weeks. It's just $3.99 a month after that, just $1 a week. Can you believe that? Come on, less than $1 a week if you do the math on that, which is terrific. Breaking news first, my inside opinion analysis to you first. Great questions that come from you that we highlight here on the postgame show and the podcast, and it's a direct text message access to me. You can ask me anything, anytime about Syracuse sports. We even talk about other things on the text line, so we would love for you to become a Syracuse Sports Insider today. Thanks to Hell Yeah, So What. All the information on where you can find their music is in the show notes. Nate tells me they're working on some new stuff. Will be coming out soon, but the stuff they put out so far has been fantastic. If you want to send me your original music to be highlighted here on Syracuse Sports, all the info to get in touch with me is in the show notes, and we would be happy to do it. But thanks for checking out this episode of Syracuse Sports, presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare provider for Syracuse Athletics. So great to have you here, and can't wait to talk to you again next time here. Let's take a listen to Hell Yeah, So What one more time to take us out.